G'day, a short one today. We have got something exotic from the Orient. What could it be? Welcome to the basement. So a good friend of the channel, Will, from Tink Time, he sent me a link to something on some strange website and said, hey, you might be interested in this. It seems like your kind of thing. And I went to have a look, and indeed it did look like my kind of thing on that website. The website was slightly dodgy looking and hard to understand because it was in Japan, and it was a place called Surugaya. And as you can see on the box here, it was a media shop, and it had this strange looking item for sale, reasonably cheap and free postage. So against my better judgment, I pulled the trigger on it, bought it, and a week later it showed up. I wasn't actually sure it would. So today we're going to open the box, have a look inside, and work out what this weird thing actually is. Let's go. So let's start here on the side of the box. We've got our media shop Surugaya branding here, and we've got like this cool volcano looking thing and some tsunami waves, I think they are, crashing into the volcano. Quite a dramatic logo. And according to this, they sell games, DVDs, CDs, cards, figures, PCs, books, etc. So some sort of gaming related website. Like I say, I've never seen it before, and I'd never visited before, and I wasn't even sure it was legit. But, well, maybe it is. We haven't opened the box yet. Now, slightly worrying, it says on here, contents game software. And what I saw advertised wasn't game software, so I'm hoping that this is the thing I saw in the picture. Now, the description was very brief. It was hard to understand what exactly it was, but hopefully it will make sense when we open it. Okay, so we've got a lot of Japanese newspaper, and got a few bubble wrapped items. Let me get these out and we'll lay them on the table. And a rather stern looking man here, probably telling me something important, but I don't know what that says. And on this side we have a cat wearing sunglasses, or it's a blind cat, I can't quite tell. Okay, so here are the items, and we've got a keyboard of some description. We've got what looks like a floppy drive of some description, some cables, and the device itself. So let's get them out of their bubble wrap. Yeah, and so here we have a Toshiba floppy drive, quite a slim one, 3.5 inch floppy disk drive with a connector which obviously fits those cables there. Next we have this keyboard, Vision Connect it says on it, and of course it's a Japanese keyboard, but it has the English characters on there as well. And I believe it is going to be an infrared keyboard, judging by the black lens on the top there. And of course it's got no cables or anything. I wonder where your batteries go. Ah, here. Right, so it's going to take 3 AA batteries. Alright, and so the main event, let's open this one up. And here we have it. Again, it's branded Vision Connect. It's a Toshiba. It's got a DVD-ROM in it. And it looks kind of like an Xbox. Now I've got my Xbox next to it. It doesn't quite look the same. It's just some sort of fancy desktop PC, I reckon. Hi, this is Johan from the future, just interrupting this unboxing because when I was unboxing this, I didn't know what it was. And so it leads to a pretty boring unboxing video with me just going, oh, I wonder what this is. Instead, I've now Googled what this is and found out a bit of info. So let me just tell you quickly exactly what it is. It is a media center PC from 1997. It's probably one of the first of its kind out there, I'd say. Definitely one of the first computers to have a DVD drive in it. The DVD drive is dated from 97, January 97, which makes it a very early DVD player. In fact, it's so old that the Pentium processor is not powerful enough to decode the DVD video, so it has some hardware decoders in it. It came with this infrared keyboard, which means you could sit on your couch, no cables, totally wireless solution. And well, I guess you could surf the web. It's got a dial-up modem in it. The other thing it's got, which is quite interesting, it's got USB on the front. And I know you're saying, yeah, big deal, every computer has USB, except they didn't back then. This is one of the first computers also with USB. And we all think, oh, the iMac was the first computer with USB, but it wasn't really. It was just the first one to make USB popular. This predated the iMac by about a year and had USB on the front. Of course, there was nothing around that could plug into it, which is probably why they had a rubber cover over it. It's unusual, it's different, it's compact. It would probably make quite a good DOS gaming machine, maybe. But really, I think the challenge for us is going to be making it work and finding the drivers. Anyway, back to your scheduled programming. So I might give it a quick clean and then we'll see if it turns on, I guess. So it looks like the rubber around the little nubbin has got a bit sticky at the base there. And I'd say that this machine is of the generation where all the rubber is starting to go a little bit sticky. Great, so it's a bit cleaner than when we unpacked it. Let's have a little look around this curious machine. So this is the design on the top here, and we can pretty much date it fairly well because it's designed for Microsoft Windows 95. So that would put it in 95, 96, 97 kind of era. Plus it's got a floppy drive, so that helps date it in that era as well. It looks like it contains a Pentium processor. And look, it's Energy Star compliant. Why didn't they stick that? What do you align the sticker with? Yes, they're in line, so all is right with the world. We can carry on. Right, looking at the front of the machine, we've got our Vision Connect branding, Toshiba up here, DVD-ROM, Dolby Digital. We've got a hard drive indicator light. We've got a power button, a reset port here. We've got our infrared. Of course, the keyboard's going to beam to that. And we've got a little port next to it. What's on that? And that's got a microphone input on it. We've got a hatch here. What's on the side here? Okay, so we've got two USB ports on the front. And here it looks like some sort of card slot, maybe a PCMCIA or some other type of card. And this looks like a volume control here. And a little speaker perhaps in this corner. Looking underneath, we can see that yes, indeed, it's of that era where the rubber is going sticky because they've put some pieces of paper over what looks like very sticky rubber. So I'll just put them back for now. This one, interestingly enough, is not sticky, so they haven't put any paper on that one, just these three. And we've got a hatch here, so probably for RAM, I guess. We'll find out soon. Yes, it is indeed RAM, and it takes what looks like laptop style RAM. We've got a fan. We've got a modem port here, or phone line in. So as far as outs, we've got a composite out. We've got left and right analog audio out. We've got a digital audio out, S-video out, and then our monitor, which probably is VGA. And we've got a printer port here, we've got a serial port here, and we've got a PS2 here for a keyboard or mouse, again, which is good in case the other keyboard doesn't work. And this is to hook up our floppy, so we do have the cable with this machine to hook that floppy up. We've also got the power lead. Now, power lead goes in here. It's a standard figure 8 power lead, but this is from Japan. I think they might have 110, do they? And we certainly do not have 110 where I live. We have 240, which will not bode well for this machine. I bet you these feet made a mess on their desk when they were packing it. So they kindly put the paper over it. In fact, it's pretty well packaged all round, especially for the price. Like I paid about $80 Australian for this, including shipping. It's funny, this 90s design, there's no straight lines anywhere. So the whole thing's sort of rocking and rolling because there's nothing flat to sit on. Now that wasn't really part of the plan, but what is part of the plan is PCBWay. Let me tell you about them. That's right, PCBWay does PCBs, but also sheet metal fabrication, 3D printing, and even CNC machining. Whatever crazy idea in your head can be turned into reality at PCBWay.com. So thanks PCBWay for sponsoring today's video. So it turns out to get this plastic case off, you have to take off the front of the CD or DVD drive. Unfortunately, you can't remove the front of the DVD drive unless it's open, and I can't turn it on to open it because it is a 100 volt machine and I don't want to blow it up by connecting 240 volts to it. So it snapped the little plastic tabs off to get it off, but I'll fix that, I think, putting it back together gently. It's held in by quite a few clips. And there we go. Right, well, that didn't reveal much, did it? Metal box underneath. Okay, let's continue to disassemble. Okay, it looks like I've got it. And yes, it's in two very still connected halves. So that is the DVD drive is obviously, yes, the DVD drive is screwed to the lid. So let me undo that. Finally, two halves. So we can have a look down into the machine itself. What have we got in here? We've got the power supply. So that's our 100 volt power supply there. We've got here a laptop hard drive, a few chips and bits and pieces. So it's definitely custom made. It's not really off-the-shelf parts. I've got a little heatsink here, so our processor's down under this, the Pentium processor. I've undone a few more screws. I want to get this power supply out to see if we can modify it or replace it. So that's the power supply out. Now it's interesting that it only has two wires coming out of it, so if I can figure out what's supposed to be coming out of that, maybe I can rig up something. And I'm about to do something either stupid or genius. I haven't quite worked out yet which one it is, but I'm going to put 12 volts into that point there where the power supply goes, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully not a cloud of smoke. Connect our 12 volts. Ooh, it tried to turn on. So if I so the light came on. It might just not have enough amps to fire up. Okay, this is the last bit of jankiness I think I'm going to try before giving up. I've got a 12 volt power supply here, which is rated up to 5 amps, which is a lot more than those benchtop supplies I've got here. But it's getting very janky now because I've got to hold wires together. Right, so that's on. Let's hit the power button. Hey, that's the hard drive spinning up. It's turning on. Great, okay, so the 5 amp power supply powers it. Let's do this all a bit better and hook it up to a video out and see what we get. I've mostly got it back together and I have figured out a plan. I don't really want to modify it away too much from the original. In fact, I want it to stay original as possible because I think these are probably just going to get rarer and rarer as time goes on. So I'm keeping the original power supply in there, but I've just unplugged it from the motherboard, and I've got this plug here which I'm going to put in the motherboard and run that out to a barrel connector here so that I can just use this power supply externally. So the only modification I'll make is just enlarge one of the holes in the back here and run that through the case so that I can just plug in the power from the outside. And then that means if I ever want to turn it back to stock, I just have to remove that wire or unplug it from the inside, plug that one back in, and it will accept 100 volts just through the AC connector. Now, just to avoid any nasty accidents in the future, I'll put a sticker over the power input there and a little label on our new power input up the top. So with our newly installed power bypass in place, Let's connect it up and hit the power button. And hopefully we get something on the screen. I haven't put the hard drive in yet. Cool, there it is. The Toshiba. So I'm just going to do a bit of a recap where I'm up to, probably more for my sake than anything, because yeah, lots sort of happened and is continuing to happen. So yep, we tried to turn it on, nothing happened. The hard drive was cactus. So I pulled the hard drive out and I imaged the hard drive. Now, the image I got off the hard drive was a corrupted image, so it was a deleted partition. I did manage to get most of it, but it's missing some files because I've tried running Windows straight from that and it just doesn't do anything. And there's a few other programs that just look like a bit of garbled files on there. So, but I'm trying to keep all of that intact as much as I can, all that data, because I can't find any drivers for this machine or any information other than the initial press release for it. So if there's any drivers on that hard drive, you want to hang on to them, and we're going to need them to get this machine working properly again. So with that said, it was time. I thought I'll install a new copy of Windows 95 on here. But of course, a machine of this era, it won't boot straight from the DVD/optical drive. So you need a boot floppy to get it to work, and that loads the drivers for the optical drive, and then away you go. So I popped the floppy in the floppy drive and figured out after a while that the floppy drive is not working. So we replaced the belt on the floppy drive, and in doing so, while putting it back together, I lost the world's tiniest spring. It just pinged off into oblivion. It's gone to another plane of existence. I just do not know where it went. It just went over my shoulder and vanished. I searched the floor with a magnet and I just could not find it anywhere. So I have jerry-rigged a ghetto solution by just bending a capacitor leg or resistor leg, sorry, around the worm drive, and that spring, the job it was doing was holding this plastic arm against the worm drive to move the heads up and down. So it was quite an important spring. Anyway, my ghetto fix seems to be working. It does get stuck every now and again, which is why I haven't put the case on, so I can kind of help it with my finger to move up and down. But for the most part, it's working. So we just need it to boot this disk, load the drivers off this disk for the optical, and then we can install Windows. Well, I thought we could, because as it turns out, these optical drives won't read a CDR. They're too old to read a CDR, which is annoying, and it took me quite a while to work out what was going on. And if I'd read the magazine article from PC Mag in 1997, it talked about the fact that it can't read a CDR. But yeah, I didn't read that till later. Anyway, I have burnt the same thing onto a DVD-R, which it does read, thankfully. So with all this in place, I reckon we'll be able to reformat that hard drive there, install Windows on it, and then it's just a matter of finding the drivers that we need to get this thing working. So that's the state of where we're at the moment. Let's go. Well, that's new. What even is that? Cool, so we're booted in to a like a DOS environment, I suppose. It has mounted some utilities on D drive and a RAM drive, so that's all your kind of useful utilities there. If we go to E drive, that will be this here. There's nothing in it at the moment, so let me pop in the DVD. And if I hit directory, I can hear it working. Before, when I put the CDR in, it didn't spin up at all. It just didn't even recognize it as a disk. But it is certainly happier with the DVD. So we can see there, that's the directory of our DVD. ready to install Win95. Now before we do that, we do have to run fdisk, and we will prepare the hard drive. Excellent, we'll just let it do its thing and come back when it's finished. I've got to say, Windows 95 boots super fast. Well, it does on this machine. I found this old serial mouse with the old style connector, so maybe this will do the job, because we do have a serial port on the back here. Okay, I've used the new add new hardware wizard, and it's found a standard serial mouse, so hopefully this will give us our mouse control. So finish. Hey, we've got mouse. We have got mouse. Man, when was the last time you did this? Man, it's pretty dirty. You can see how that's where the dirt was. It's coming up clean now. I don't think this has been cleaned for a very long time. It took a while, but I managed to get almost everything working. The drivers were really quite difficult to find and install. But so far, I reckon I've got every... Was it working? Here we go. I've got everything working except one thing. One thing, which is the coolest thing, is the infrared keyboard, which is a real shame. It's a bit sad. Like, the hardware's picking it up, but Windows 95 doesn't know what to do with it or recognize it. So it probably has a specific Toshiba app or program to take the infrared signal and turn it into something that the computer knows is keyboard input or mouse input. So unfortunately we don't have that going, but I have got everything else going. So I've got the driver for the DVD hardware accelerator, video encoding accelerator in here. I've got the Yamaha surround sound hardware working. What else was there? The yeah, I think that's it. The USB. Seem to install some drivers with a Japanese name on them, so presumably that's the right one. That actually came from the disk I had made up of the old hard drive, so it found the drivers on there, thankfully. I wasn't able to find the drivers for the keyboard, even though I spent hours looking through it, and I really don't know enough about it, and I can't read the Japanese, not only because I'm not Japanese, but also it doesn't show the Japanese characters in the English version. It just shows it as like garbled characters. So I've done my best guess, but so far everything's working except the keyboard. What was supposed to be just a 5-minute simple unboxing has turned into a slight bit of a saga, but it's been a fun journey. So we had to have a look at this machine, convert it from 110 to 240 volts, which we did by using an external power supply, just bypassing what was in there so that I can put it back to original if I need to. Then we pulled out the hard drive, and that was cactus, so we put a new hard drive in. But in trying to install Windows 95, I did eventually discover that the floppy drive wasn't working, so we had to fix that as well. So that was a pretty good run. We got all that fixed. Getting the drivers on here was a lot more challenging, but I did eventually get them all on, except for that pesky keyboard driver. So if anyone knows how to get a keyboard driver for a Vision Connect from 1997, hit me up and leave a comment down below. But for now, I reckon that's a pretty good run with this old machine. You've been in the basement. Have a great day.